the foreign national who allegedly bribed Joe and Hunter Biden allegedly has audio recordings of his conversation with them. 17 such recordings. These recordings were allegedly kept as a sort of insurance policy for the foreign national in case that he got into a tight spot.
Ruh-roh. Now, there is 100% double standard. Democrats are running a complete banana republic. And we better wake up before it's too late. Well, joining me now to discuss the executive vice president of the Trump Organization, Donald Trump Jr. himself. Don, I'm sorry you're here under these circumstances, but I mean, what do you have to say after all we've seen in the last 5 hours?
Well, honestly, it's really about what we've seen over the last 5 years, Carl. And I guess at this point, I don't think anyone should be surprised. They should be outraged. They should be pissed off. But at this point, I don't think anyone should be surprised. There's two levels of justice. There's one for powerful Democrats, and there's one for everyone else. You've seen that. You've seen, the only precedent on a similar case like this is Bill Clinton, and it seems everything is 100% fine. You have the Joe Biden document scandal, and he was vice president and couldn't actually declassify those documents. They're sitting all over his Chinese-funded think tank. They're sitting in his garage where Hunter Biden had access while he was magically, raking in millions from China and Ukraine and Russia. And, we're to believe that he had no power and others had no power over him with this information and knowledge. I'm sure that's viable, just like I'm sure those people invested in a crackhead because it was a good business proposition, not because they were buying influence. That's not how it works in the real world, but I think the American people are now seeing that, Carl. They're seeing just how insane all of this actually is. They're seeing just how far the Democrats will go to pursue their political enemies, and it's outrageous. I did a whole thing on my Triggered podcast last night with Kash Patel, underlining the prosecutor, both the lady prosecuting the case as well as Jack Smith, and all of the details and things that they've been reprimanded for disciplinarily in terms of what they've done historically. And let's just say these are not good, moral, decent people who believe in the Constitution. These are people who will do whatever it takes to secure the conviction that the Democrat Party is looking for. Right. And that's what Joe Biden's DOJ has been doing. That's evidenced across the board, not just with Trump. Well,
it's like create an investigation and then charge him with obstructing the investigation that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I look at this, look at the Hillary Clinton standard. I mean, I just talked about it in the monologue, but you have a woman who destroyed evidence that was subpoenaed, lied about it, wiped things with digital software, and yet no reasonable prosecutor would take that on?
Well, beyond that, she also did not have the ability to actually declassify that information, right? So not only is that obstruction and destruction, it's so much more. You could say what you want, but the president is the only person that had that power. So the Bill Clinton example of the audio tapes that he had of these people that he kept in his sock drawer and he was looked at, and they say, it's okay, it's his property. Right. Why is that different? Other than it's because it's Trump and, Orange Man bad and such. We've seen this before. Again, the problem is it's very hard for anyone to have any faith in these institutions that we once believed in, perhaps falsely, because I imagine this has been going on a lot longer than Trump, but Trump derangement syndrome has brought it out. They are using Stalinist tactics. These are the things that would make Mao, Pol Pot, and others blush. Right. Honestly, Carl, these are the things that if happened in other countries, we'd be talking about invading them to correct the injustices. And yet they're happening here in our backyard on a daily basis. Right. It's truly sick. And I just hope it's enough to get the American people and wake them up. They have to understand what's going on. They have to understand that Trump is probably, that last brick in the wall before all of the things that we hold near and dear just collapse, and we're controlled by these lunatics. And that's exactly what they are. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Well, your guys' attorney, Alina Habba, spoke at the situation earlier today. Listen to this.
The targeting, prosecution of a leading political opponent is the type of thing you see in dictatorships like Cuba and Venezuela. It is commonplace there for rival candidates to be prosecuted, persecuted, and put into jail. What is being done to the President Trump should terrify all citizens of this country. These are not the ideals that our democracy is founded upon. And this is not our America.
The deep state is literally fighting for its life. If your father gets reelected, it is going to be a complete repositioning of the entire government, no?
Oh, 100%. And, you know, what's interesting is, you know, and as someone who's a conservative and believes in all of that stuff, I wish we had a deeper bench, but I'm looking at all of the other presidential candidates, with, I guess, the exception of Vivek, and they're all strangely silent. Like, you know, it's okay if they're doing it to Trump because that allows me to further my goals, to grasp more power. You saw that with DeSantis a couple of weeks ago. Well, it's not really a big deal that they're weaponizing the government. Yeah, it's not until they do it to you, which they eventually will. And that's the problem, Carl. We don't have a deep enough bench. We have a bunch of conservative supposed weaklings that are out there too afraid to take on these people. These are the people that will get into Washington and they will do what their donors tell them to do. They will do what their handlers tell them to do. They'll do what Paul Ryan and Karl Rove and all the other neocons and rhinos tell them to do. That's apparent by their silence today. This is real stuff. Alina's 100% right. And that's why it's great that it's actually in Miami, because the people of Miami, a vast majority of them, came from places that there were these kinds of banana republic persecutions, where people were thrown in jail for no reason, where they created crimes and selective prosecutions to be able to imprison their political enemies. You get a couple of those people in a jury and this isn't going anywhere, but the idea is to try to hurt Trump, because the deep state, the uni party, they fear what he will do going back in a second term when he doesn't have to get reelected, when he doesn't have to make any more friends, and with the understanding and the knowledge and the base that he has coming in this from scratch. But after 4 years of putting up with this, he knows where the bodies are buried, and he's going to burn it to the ground. And these people are so afraid of that because that's where all their money comes from. That's where all their power comes from. They don't create anything. They peddle influence, just like Joe Biden and Hunter Biden do. That's what we're up against. And the American people have to understand that. They have to wake up to that. They have to, end this primary so we have the money to take on that corrupted Democrat machine, the ballot harvesting operation that's out there. Every single dollar that gets wasted in this sham primary at this point is a dollar that's enabling Joe Biden, this incompetent moron, to remain in office.
And it's our tax money that they've confiscated at all but gunpoint. Don Jr., I'm so sorry you're going through this. Stay strong, brother. Appreciate you coming on.
Always. Thanks, Carl.